It has been 2.5 years since Tamir Rice was shot and killed here in Cleveland.
And we can tell you the officer who shot Tamir has been fired and his partner that day has been disciplined. Danny Carlson further explains the fates of each officer right now. Danny?
Well, Ramona and Mark, today we learned the discipline for both officers Timothy Loehmann and Frank Garmback. Now, Garmback received a 10-day suspension for tactics he allegedly took driving up to Tamir that day. Loehmann, the person who shot Tamir Rice that day, that shooting was deemed reasonable on several different reports, but today he was fired for allegedly lying on his police application. Officer Timothy Loehmann was still on probation when he shot Tamir Rice. His termination letter states that Loehmann lied on his Cleveland police application when he didn't mention that he would have been fired by the Independence Police Department, quote, but they allowed you to resign instead. The letter also states that Loehmann didn't tell the Cleveland police that while he was in Independence, he, quote, failed to secure his firearm, was insubordinate and untruthful to a superior officer, and that Loehmann was, quote, emotionally immature and possessed an inability to emotionally function, according to Independence PD. Today, Chief Calvin Williams says the department has changed how they hire police officers, including they now read through the personnel files of previous jobs of everyone who applies to be a Cleveland police officer. Frank Garmback was Loehmann's field training officer the day Tamir Rice was killed. He was suspended for 10 days starting tomorrow because a disciplinary letter says that he should have stopped the car when he entered Cudell Park and not driven up to Tamir Rice, and that he didn't tell dispatchers when their police car got there or where exactly they were. There inevitably will be people who say the punishment doesn't fit what happened. What would you like to say to those people?
Well, there's a 12-year-old kid dead. So, I mean, you know, people on both sides are going to say it wasn't enough, it was too much. You know, we have to go through our process. We have to be fair and objective to everybody involved in the process, and we have to make sure that people understand we will continue to be fair and objective.
Now, we can also tell you that the dispatcher involved in this case was suspended for 8 days for her role in this, and an off-duty police officer who was working at the Cudell Recreation Center without proper authorization, he received a 2-day suspension. Both of those suspensions happened in March. Now, coming up tonight at 5, my colleague Carl Monday has the reaction from the police union from Steve Loomis. But first of all, we want to continue our team coverage this afternoon. My colleague Sia New Yorker spoke to Samaria Rice today. Sia?
Thank you, Danny. In her own words, Samaria Rice says she's relieved knowing that Officer Timothy Loehmann was fired, but says Officer Garmback should be fired too. Now, during a press conference earlier today, Tamir Rice's mother said Officer Loehmann should never have been an officer. She says the city hasn't kept her in the loop of its process and that she was notified of the decision by her attorney, Subodh Chandra. Now, she knew at some point there would be discipline, but says the process has taken too long and has been overwhelming for her family. She says her fight to get justice for Tamir's death is not over.
We still need accountability, and firing the officers, we want to make sure that he never gets rehired again through the next process that they take. So
Samaria says she sits in fear, wondering when the other shoe is going to drop, but hopes this can be the beginning of healing for her family. Mark?
All right, Sia, thank you. And we're getting our first look at a device posted on Snapchat after somebody made a bomb threat at Elyria High School yesterday. A mom